Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Senor Nerd Podcast. And today I have with me Ramon.
Hey.
Greetings.
And today we're giving you a late night episode of Demon Slayer, specifically seasons 1 and 2. And we're going to talk about how great the show is and how much we love it. But before we start, I want to ask Ramon a question. Ramon, if you could have more than one wife, how many would you have?
Oh my goodness, that's a trick question. I would have one, just one. But that's not your question. Interesting. That's a tough question.
Oh, you're thinking about it, so your wife is not going to like the idea that you're thinking about it.
You asked the question, right? So now I got to...
But it should have just been one wife, because that's my...
You said if you could have more than one. So technically it's asking for more than one. I did say one in the beginning, but now see, I retract my answer. I'm back to one.
so for me that answer is also one, because let's just say I only have the energy for one woman in my life, and two would just kill me. Bro, we all know you have a legendary stamina, so I don't need to ask you that question. But
he wants all of them.
But I hope you guys are excited, because Demon Slayer is definitely, to me, one of the most amazing, most funnest, one of the shows that I have so much fun just, watching it and enjoying it. So we're here just, have general thoughts on what we feel about it. Ramon, Raul, I don't know which one you want to start, but tell us why you love Demon Slayer.
Honestly, I will say it is the best looking anime that I've ever seen. I don't think there's any anime that's quite up to par with Demon Slayer and how gorgeous it looks with the animation, and then the style of the animation too. It just really reminds me of like the Japanese style tattoos, but like all the colors and just how well they do everything with the breathing, and it looks amazing. And even if it didn't have a great story, like I would watch it just for the animation.
But luckily, that's a great story.
Because I just watched the first 5 episodes today, man, and you're right. Like right away from the beginning, they hit you with some amazing, beautiful animation, and it never stops. And if anything, it keeps getting better. And they have already teased that season 3 is going to have some of the most craziest animations that you've ever seen. So I can't wait for my eyes to fall out.
Wasn't the entertainment district the 3rd season?
You can call it, because there's the Mugen Train. I kind of like to feel like it's the 2nd season, because the Mugen Train was kind of a movie.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it the 3rd season. We'll see what it actually comes, once it comes out in April, what the actual, 3rd. I think it is actually 3rd season.
3rd season,
Because when I go in Funimation, it gives me the option for season 1 and season 2, and the district arc was season 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then so
on Hulu, it splits the 3 up.
Oh yeah, it does, because the Mugen Train becomes like a whole season by itself. Yeah, which is weird. But I hate how I have those shows like split them up weird.
Yeah.
But man, for me, I was ultimately gonna get to it, Carlos, but you wouldn't leave me alone when you were watching it. And I don't even remember you could probably remember better. I was probably watching Naruto, like always, like trying to get through all that in the beginning. But I remember you were just kept on being like, dude, start watching Demon Slayer. Dude, start watching Demon Slayer. Man, the animations. Oh my God, start watching Demon Slayer.
Dude, I was spoiling the district arc for you. Like I was sending you Snapchats of like the final battle with Tengen, because I was like, dude, you gotta see this. This is like some crazy ass amazing shit. Like the craziest thing I've ever seen on screen.
Oh my God. Well, being an artist myself, obviously, like I love the animation, like to begin with, of just any anime. But yeah, like you're right. You sent me a couple like little fight scenes, and it didn't ruin anything, because at that point I had no clue who anyone was. And I think by the time I finally got there, I couldn't even remember the scene to begin with, besides the flash of colors and the sword slashing and everything. But no, dude, I definitely, when I did start watching Demon Slayer, definitely I got sucked up by the story. I think it was probably one of the most sincere stories that I heard in any of the animes that I had just recently been watching. I feel like it was just kind of very wholesome, and everything just came out of love and compassion. So I immediately fell in love with Tanjiro, and then that's it. Like all I had to do was meet him that first episode, him basically looking out after his siblings, and then after that tragedy, from there it's just kind of I was won over by his like ultimate mission to basically save his sister. So from there on, I was just like hooked into the story, and then obviously we're here now. More to talk about.
No, I want to say that Tanjiro, just like Deku and Naruto, they all kind of share the same DNA, man. and they're protagonists that you fall in love with them immediately just because of how friendly, how cheerful they are. I mean, I told you guys, yeah, because I just watched again the first season of Demon Slayer, and on episode 1, man, Tanjiro's going to the town, and he's just so friendly with everybody. Everybody's asking for his help. You can tell there's a kid that everybody loves, and clearly, I mean, we know why because we've been following him. And I want to say, even though he does a lot of amazing things, he's never like somebody that I'm like, oh my God, he looks amazing. He looks so crazy. He looks so cool. He kind of almost looks a little bit dorky, but man, like, don't let that dorkiness fool you, man, because this guy can bring it.
Yeah, and I think they even give him that like scar on his head, that birthmark, almost making it seem like that would be like, a reason why he possibly could have gotten teased or something. But yeah, like you're right. Those scenes with him in the beginning and the villagers, yeah, he was like a sweet, sweet guy.
Yeah, and I'll say that's definitely kind of like a different, or I'll say it's a little bit different. Like with like other main characters, you do kind of see them be like either made fun of or ostracized or whatever. Whether it's like Asta from Black Clover or a bunch of different characters, but like like from the start, you see like everyone is so nice to him because he's so nice to everybody in return. And it's just, I guess, a very wholesome beginning, which makes the tragedy hit that much harder.
Oh, dude. Yeah, to my surprise, when I was kind of like, I kind of forget sometimes about his siblings. So it was kind of nice today when I was watching the first episode and you get to see all of them. And then what really shocked me was that for some reason I always thought like Nezuko was like maybe not the youngest, but maybe second youngest. But I actually think she's the second oldest because, she's like, yeah, so that kind of surprised me and I guess it's the part that, she's always shrinking inside, sort of getting bigger. That's probably what led me to believe that she was a lot younger. But no, to my surprise, she was actually like the second oldest child.
Yeah, I mean that. I just I didn't know what I was getting into it when I first started watching it. But yeah, like once you're stuck with seeing, you don't see the demon, but once you see his family all like destroyed, like first of all, you feel so bad for him because he purposely didn't make it home that night. Well, not on purpose, but he couldn't make it home, or he decided not to, and it was just ultimately a bad decision. And yeah, when you met Nezuko and she was like also almost dead, and just the fact that he had one person out of his entire family still survive, like that was probably the reason why right away you felt for her too, because he was going to do everything in his power to bring her. And again, that was the story that kind of started it all, because then all of a sudden you're kind of in that same mindset with him to try to save her. But yeah, man.
I was going to ask you guys, do you guys think Muzan purposely converted her into a demon as a kind of like final FU to the family? Because, again, Muzan's the one that killed the whole family. And, guys, you guys haven't seen much of him, but he's just one of those people that doesn't make mistakes, and everything he does is very calculating. So I just tend to believe that he did that on purpose, because I'm like, why else would she have, how else would she have been survived but still became a demon? Because I guess the way you become a demon is by getting some of their blood. But I think Muzan purposely gave her some of his blood to be able for her to be able to become a demon.
Well, there's no. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's kind of the thing that like he kind of goes around and he makes new demons.
Exactly.
And I still don't understand like his process of doing that, but obviously I've only watched it. I haven't read any of the mangas, so I don't know kind of what's going to happen. So I don't really know him too much besides the fact that like he just everything about him just oozes evil. So I'm sure it definitely could have been just like a fuck you to the family. But it also kind of seems that like everyone, all the demons that he turns are people that are like pretty much soaked in tragedy. So whether it's because he caused a tragedy or because their life has already been tragic, and kind of in evidence of the last episode of the pretty much every demon that Tanjiro's kind of trying to like connect with at the end, you kind of see their backstory and you see a lot of the fucked up shit that they end up going through. But in this case with Nezuko, it was him that caused the tragedy. It was him that ended up kind of killing everybody, probably right in front of her. And kind of left her alive to deal with it.
You bring up a good point, because maybe that's why because he thought, I mean, she was the only one, the last one left in that house because Tanjiro wasn't there. So maybe he did like kill everybody and he's getting to her and then he's like, oh, you're the last one. Let me make you into a demon because you're going to, try to really be vengeful about this whole tragedy, not knowing that her older brother was still out in the world. That sounds good. But I mean, it definitely, like, as much as it has to been on purpose, later in the show, right, he's always trying to like say how that was like, it's a mistake that she's alive, that she shouldn't be alive because, she's basically betraying the demons. And so he clearly doesn't want her alive eventually. But yeah, maybe that's the reason why, Raul. Maybe that's...
Well, we know he's definitely a fan of Michael Jackson, even though Michael Jackson couldn't be around during that time period. But I know for a fact, I've actually read the manga, and I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything for you guys, but we will see him at least, from what I remember, they'll show him turn 2 upper moons. Like, he'll be the one that actually gives them the blood. And I'm referring to Upper Moon 1 and Upper Moon 3, Akasa. So we will get a little bit of that. But yeah, it's just, they never do show you a scene of him, killing the family or converting Nezuko. So that's just something that I've always kind of wondered. Because again, I don't think the manga ever gave you an explanation for that. But man, they're like... Maybe
it will at some point. Because the manga's not done yet, right?
It's done.
The manga's completely done?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it finished?
It finished 100%.
Yes, that always excites me because that means near future, soon-ish.
Yeah, it's actually like only 200 chapters, so it's not your longest manga from, the ones I've read. So that's what I kind of like about it, especially because like now I know the story, how it wraps up. I can't wait for you guys to see some of this stuff, man. And Akasa's story to this day, anytime I think about it, like if I want to cry, like if I was an actor and I wanted to just tear up on the spot, I would just think about Akasa's backstory, because if I try to even explain to you, dude, all of a sudden I would just be tearing up in tears. So... I just can't wait for you guys to like get that. I know a lot of people right now hate him because he killed Rengoku. But trust me, guys, redemption or a little bit of understanding where that guy's coming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess we can continue the story about it like that much, but and then like your next thing becomes that like when you find out that Nezuko like is still alive, and then she's trying to attack Tanjiro, and then eventually what's his name, Giyu. Yeah, shows up to like kind of stop the whole situation, and that's kind of like where another part that got intriguing right away from first episode 1 is the fact that clearly this whole like save her, do not save her, like do we kill her, not kill her, and then do you see Tanjiro's like kind of like will to kind of figure out how to turn her back.
Yeah. And I've gone out of my way to like kind of get an understanding of who's the strongest pillar, and Hashira and Giyu, to my understanding, is not even like one of the top strongest ones, but him from episode 1 and then from what we see later on in the first season, like he to me is so cool, and I think I love him just because he kind of reminds me of Sasuke. And it's kind of crazy because I know you think Sasuke is like, oh, you think this is like the strongest guy, but I think even later on he'll just say like, I'm not the strongest, and I have doubt about my ability. So I do like about the guy. But he's definitely for me one of my favorite pillars, for sure.
And he definitely sets up Tanjiro to be able to do what he gets to do, right? Because he takes him to his old instructor, his old teacher.
His sensei. Yeah.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, we'll remember it later. But yeah, and then that's how the whole journey of Tanjiro becoming a demon slayer to have the ability to ultimately possibly save Nezuko. So that's pretty cool that Giyu was kind of like that initial pillar that we met. And then he ultimately kind of became like that big brother, which again, that's always another great kind of character role that people get to play. And I think he does a good job throughout, because I think he's like the number one person defending them like throughout the process as they do meet the other Hashiras and they meet their leader and all this stuff. So he was a pretty cool guy to kind of see around. Like definitely looked badass without seeing too much. So
no, definitely, because I think some of the pillars, if they had been in the same situation as Giyu, like they would have just easily killed Nezuko and they wouldn't have cared. So we definitely have to thank him for the fact that we still have a show, because he made the right decision. Something that, as I was watching this show, the first few episodes again, even though there's crazy demons and there's all this crazy stuff, the one part that really surprised me is the fact that Tanjiro spent 6 months training with some ghost children in the forest, and he never realized that they were actually like not there. And I'm like, okay, like I could believe maybe a weekend, but the whole 6 months, and maybe that just tells you that he was going crazy while he was training. But then you're led to believe that all that did happen. So it's just it's a little bit crazy when I think about it.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Because, like, well, we wouldn't have known as the viewers, right? Because we thought they were alive too. And then when it gets to that final point where they tell you that they're not alive, and then, yeah, I guess thinking about it, it's kind of a funny thought, right? That of him just practicing alone and talking to himself. And then, you know, he's a little crazy, but he got there. I mean, that scene where he split the boulder was like
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Dude, and I know you have a figure of Sabito. I think that's the Fox one. So I immediately put one in my cart for the Amazon because he's just so cool, man. And again, a lot of people in this show are cool, but they don't live they don't live very long after they're introduced, so it kind of sucks a little. But do you guys have any favorite moments in the show that you guys maybe want to talk about? Like maybe some experiences, like Ramon, you definitely hadn't watched this movie. You had not been watching this show when the Mugen Train came out, but dude, the Mugen Train, I have a story for that one because that was just awesome. But
wow.
Any experiences?
Well, I'm gonna let you get there, and I don't want to be Raul because I guess it's been a whole lot of back and forth. But honestly, one of my favorite parts, at least for that first season, was when they're fighting the Spider Family. With that one upper, or with that one also one of the uppers,
upper 12,
being being the kid, but. That scene where Tanjiro decapitates his mother, or his quote-unquote mother, was so freaking beautiful because you see that, right? You know, like, he's gonna kill her. And at that last moment, there's, like, that kind of, like, very slow motion animation where she is thinking of, like, you know, basically trying to redeem herself. Like, she knew she messed up. She knew kind of, like, you know, she got led into that life that she didn't necessarily want. And he allowed her to be redeemed in ways, right? So he goes to slash her, and the animation was so beautiful when he kind of swings that katana across the neck, because instead of, like, blood and splatter and stuff like that, it wasn't like water and flowers or something like that. It was like such a beautiful scene. But she was still dead, you know, so it was still like he was still decapitating her, but the way they did that, the animation, the way they interpreted that moment of him giving her peace was freaking beautiful. And I think that was definitely one of my favorite parts in that first season altogether. I mean, that moment to me was just like beautiful.
Yeah, and the relief that she had too.
Oh yeah,
of like not being around him, because you could tell that it was like such an abusive situation, and kind of just like not having to deal with it anymore. It was beautiful.
Yeah, like, you know, for me, it was for sure a surprise when you find out that the little kid, Rui, was actually like running everything, and he was the one creating the demons because he wanted to have a family. So that was very fun when you like get to the point where, you know, Tanjiro kills the mom, and you think maybe, like, I think after that point when I was watching it, I thought that the one in charge was the big muscle spider.
Oh, the dad. Quote unquote.
Yeah, the quote, and I guess it just kind of, the show was kind of letting you to believe he was, but in reality, it was actually like Rui, the little kid.
Yeah,
and dude, his backstory was super sad too, and that's what I like about the show. That even though you're rooting for the main characters, every time they slay a demon and he cuts one of their heads off, they always show you like a backstory of them, or they start actually feeling like emotions, and they're kind of like, "Oh, I didn't remember, but I used to have a brother. How did I forget I had a brother?" And they start crying, and then Tanjiro's always there to like consult them and tell them like everything will be okay, or
and then you start crying.
So I like that about that, because what other show is doing that? I mean, Naruto's not going around beating people and then kind of giving them a prayer, like.
No, but with that one, you kind of do get to know the like other antagonists or the villains or whatever. Because like in the beginning with Gaara, you felt everything with Gaara, and then even with like with Obito or even Pain. And all that stuff, you get to like understand why they're doing what they're doing. You don't necessarily feel the sympathy that you do in Demon Slayer, because Demon Slayer kind of takes it to a new level.
Yeah.
Because you feel for them. Like it's not just like, oh, I understand them. It's like you feel bad for them, and you understand like why they became evil, or became demons, and kind of all that stuff. But like it's all kind of in. I don't know. I feel kind of like Demon Slayer is all like a big kind of allegory for like mental health issues and trauma.
Oh God, I never thought about it like that. But now you're gonna have me thinking.
But even what you were saying, Raul, like definitely you're right. Like in Naruto, those characters were definitely that kind of story of like where you fight them first and then you find out their backstory. The only difference is that Demon Slayer was decapitating them. So they didn't stay alive to kind of reclaim their friendship or become part of the Leaf Village camaraderie, like club. Which I think that's beautiful, man. I think I even recommended the show to my goddaughter, my niece. I just like she was like probably like 8 or something, and no matter how violent it is, I think I was still like, you got to watch this, because I think of just that. Like, and I remember you, Carlos, also telling me that part about it, that you were like, oh man, I just love that every time you get to the end and, they go to kill one of the demons, they basically make you feel for him by telling him the story. And I think that's probably like when we talk about like shows that give you lessons and you learn things about them, that's part of the lesson, right? You learn to appreciate like family members, like siblings, stuff like that, through their deaths.
And I mean, throughout the whole thing, Tanjiro has a very hard thing to do, man. He has to keep Nezuko from ever fighting somebody or killing somebody. God. Because the moment, it is kind of like right in the beginning, they tell you like the moment she is responsible for killing a human being, Tanjiro has to like decapitate her, kill her, and then he has to like kill himself. So it's like the moment she hurts another human being, like Tanjiro has to like kill himself and kill his sister. So those are very high stakes, if you ask me. The idea of controlling this sister of you that, again, she loves you, but it's just she has these instincts that she really can't control. So I love that about the show, and it does to me add like really, really high stakes. And I think we're gonna see some of that in season 3. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and it's cool to kind of see her progression, and then just how different she is, because like the demons, they all get stronger from killing people. So the more people they kill, the stronger they get. But with Nezuko, it's weird, because it seems like she either gets stronger from sleeping or it's still kind of like not really all the way out there exactly how she's getting stronger. Whether it's that or some other combination of things or whatever, because she is getting stronger, and then her blood art thing is kind of developing throughout the seasons and the show, and to the point where like she's kind of using it kind of like as anti-demon powers, and then she's doing it to kind of like help people, which is completely weird, and it's freaking everybody out because they don't understand like how she's not biting people, even though you do get the glimpses of her like bloodlust, but she's able to control it somehow, whether it's because of Tanjiro or because of her own like strength.
Dude, yeah, because like I was just gonna say like Nezuko is very loved by everybody, and I also do mimic that, like that whole like, hey, we gotta take care of her. She's she's adorable, she's cute, she can be strong when she can be strong. So I like the fans that do look at her as somebody that's like, oh, I like her and she keeps me watching the show. The fans that I don't like are the fans that kind of take it to another level and kind of treat her more like a sexual thing, and I don't understand that.
Dude, isn't she like 15?
It's so weird, man, and I don't. Yeah, I don't want to touch too much on it, but I know a lot of people were very happy when in the second season she kind of like develops and gets older, and it's like that doesn't make it okay. Like the idea that this younger girl all of a sudden like turned into a woman to be stronger. Like I think you guys totally missed the point about that. But again, I do say like Nezuko is a great character, and I I do love her. I love the fact that she's always defending Tanjiro, and I could probably sit here and talk to you guys about 30 minutes why she's such a cool character.
Yeah,
even though she doesn't talk.
And it's funny because that's a joke I was gonna comment, the whole fact when she becomes to that next stage of power, and she grows that horn and she does develop more maturely, it didn't even make sense to me either. I'm like, how's that a power up? Like that's kind of like and this is an anime that already, from someone that kind of again is still new to them in general, but like this one's like great, like as far as like keeping the sexualization of like characters down to like there's only a couple characters that you won't see but in general, like that's still more toned down than other animes, and we all know that, right? But when Nezuko, like I feel like, I don't know, when's the first time we saw her using like a power of hers. Was it with
the spider thing?
Yeah, because she catches the
That's her
spider
blood
webs on
art.
flame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, like as you start seeing her, that was I think another great part of the show is like as you were learning that not only was she like a demon, but then ultimately she was gaining powers as well without having to attack people. Was great because you saw that, and then ultimately later you see her like decapitating people by kicking them. Like she's doing some crazy stuff.
She does that in the second episode when she decapitates a demon.
Oh
by
yeah,
kicking
you're right.
the head
You're
off.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like,
man, super
So I
strong.
think, yeah, she's definitely a powerful ally, and I think she's one of the reasons why Tanjiro is still alive because there's moments where she's the one that rescues him. I think the one character that you were referring to, we haven't really talked about his the other two companions in this journey that Tanjiro said Zenitsu. You know, Zenitsu's kind of like
so many people hate him.
he's the Sanji of this show.
Sanji? I like Sanji.
Yeah, but I mean, Zenitsu's like the same way, like very corny about women and chases women, and I'm one of those people that I did find him very annoying, but I cannot deny that he has massive like math skills when it comes to just like the one ability he's able to do.
Whenever he's asleep.
Yo, I'm surprised we haven't gotten to these guys sooner. I'm like, as soon as you said Zenitsu, I'm like, hey, we haven't talked about Inosuke or Zenitsu. Like that's crazy. No, like, he was definitely annoying. There's no one that can say that they weren't annoyed by him, at least in the first few episodes or a bunch of episodes, especially with his obsession over freaking. And then, but then after that, like I think when you see the story about how he came to be as far as like his golden yellow hair when he gets struck by lightning, but then which it makes it even funnier too. But then that whole thing with the one freaking breathing technique that he has down. But I mean, obviously later on in season 2, we see how crazy he can get. Well, even season 1 when they're fighting the spider family. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like it always feels great seeing them do something again because it's not, and for him it was the same technique, but even season 2 when he did it again, it was still pretty crazy when they're doing their stuff. But yeah, he was pretty fun, a little annoying in the beginning, but pretty fun.
Because
he gets kind of annoying all throughout the show, but he gets better and more tolerable,
like you said, when he's asleep.
And it's funny because like there's not really a lightning pillar, or that's what I'm going to call it. So it's just like I think he is supposed to like eventually maybe become that. Which I mean, if he learned some more techniques, which I don't know if he would be able to, because I think his master is no longer with us. But I like him, man. If anything, I'm not a fan of Inosuke. Like him, I do not enjoy at all. I think he's funny that he's a beautiful young man. And I like that twist about him because
feminine features.
Sexualizing characters now, huh?
I am. But he is very beautiful. But everything else about him, I do not like him. I do not ever anticipate for him to come in and save the day. I don't even know why he's in the Demon Slayer, because he actually never took the test. He never trained with any teachers. He doesn't know any kind of like besides whatever he's made up. So I'm just saying, like, to me, he's just one character that I could do without. But I mean, he has his few little moments, but I just kind of like, again, I'm putting it out there, like, I'm not a fan of him too much.
I mean, well, I guess the thing with him is probably just he's the wild card in the team. Like he's the one that, obviously like brute strength, thinks he's super powerful. I think you always sometimes need someone overconfident to really kind of like throw like that wrench in the wheel. And then, I think the scene where freaking Tanjiro headbutts him and knocks him out. And obviously we're learning that Tanjiro's head is freaking strong as heck, but I don't know, it puts him in his place. And then obviously then it makes him more of the character of like the little annoying brother that wants to be better than Tanjiro. And I feel like that's what he becomes like ultimately. But yeah, he was kind of like really abrasive in the beginning too, where he was just kind of like annoying as well. Like, I don't know.
Because his whole deal is that he was raised in the wild. So all of a sudden, like he can manipulate his body in weird ways. So move his organs around. And it's just like, okay, like you guys are totally just making up stuff for him. So
yeah. And I think the whole point of him is so like every anime, whether it's the main character or one of the main characters, kind of needs like a little bit of chaos. Whether it's like I said, either the main character himself or in this case, I think he's the one that is supposed to add a little bit of chaos to for like entertainment purposes, and to make it like a little bit harder to do, because it would be, I guess, a more boring of a show if everything kind of went according to plan. But whenever you have those characters that bring the chaos, that are more impulsive and stuff like that, kind of add, I guess, more spice to shows. So I think that's the whole point of having that type of character in there.
But like Tanjiro, the reason why I love him is because this one is always training, always thinking about how can I get stronger. And like right away from the beginning, they almost tell you like you'll never become anything more than like normal, because like even with his blade, he gets like a normal black blade, even though there was expectation that his blade could turn red. So it's just like Tanjiro has this will, and I think his will of like pushing forward is what's making him such a strong character. And I love that about him. I love the fact that you got this kid that everybody tells him like, oh, you're not even meant to be that strong, but he just keeps pushing, keeps like being positive, keeps outsmarting people. And I like that about him. He just makes me like be on his team, Team Tanjiro the whole way.
All right, Carlos, you ready for this? I'm going to lead you up to the Mugen train. But no, yeah, so then, him being that awesome makes Rengoku even better, because then once they get to where all the Hashiras are at and they're meeting them, and then, they're Giyu's basically staking his claim as to why he believes in them and they should give him a chance. And then, ultimately they get paired up with Rengoku. And I feel like before you get to elaborate on the Hell story, like I love that Tanjiro ultimately is so excited to work with Rengoku because he wants to learn with him. He wants to experience that. And then for the little bit that we kind of had that experience, it was great, man. It was very great to see like one super powerful Hashira and then Tanjiro just really idolizing him. So that was great. But all right, man, do it to us. Talk about it.
I mean, all I really was going to say, man, is like the one thing I love about the first Demon Slayer movie, and this is something that, Ramon, as you watch other anime movies, you'll learn. Normally, whatever happens in those movies never actually affect the story, or you're never led to believe that it actually happened when it, you're looking back at the actual show. Yeah. So Mugen Train right off the bat, it established it is a continuation of the first season, which I love that about it. I love the fact that they did that. Animes should do that more often. I think even Dragon Ball Super has been doing it in the last two movies, so I like that about that. Which kind of makes me a little bit sad that the latest movie, people are kind of been upset about the fact that it's like nothing really new happened in it, and it was just kind of like a recap of the last two episodes and then a brand new episode, which kind of sucks because it does feel like a money grab. So hopefully they learn from the mistake and they can kind of do another great movie like Mugen Train. Because, dude, let me tell you, the first time I went to see this, it was me, Tony, and my other friend George. And Tony has never seen this anime. George was familiar with it. And when we sat down in the movie theater and we started watching this thing, dude, I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little bit nervous because I think the first few minutes of it, they're a little bit silly, especially when it goes to like Zenitsu and going to his dream. But man, dude, I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that by the end of the movie, we couldn't even look at each other because we were crying for this man that we had only met like 60 minutes ago. And just the idea of like meeting a character and falling with him immediately, and then all of a sudden he's taken away. It's like, it was just so sad, man. And that was just kind of like my experience with him. If you ever want to see a 35-year-old man cry like that, that was the one time that you could have caught me in theaters crying for this Rengoku.
Yeah, and I sadly didn't see it in theaters. I kind of wish I had. I ended up seeing it after, but like I totally get it. The whole Mugen Train and the story with there, and then with the flame of Hashira, it was fun. It was intense and it was crazy, and you definitely do get super attached right away. And yeah, it's super emotional at the end. But like I think that's also like the voice acting is really, really good too, and actually it's really good in Japanese and in English. Because I've seen it in both. Go ahead.
No, because one of the things that like had me worried that like I'm like, oh my god, what did I bring my friends into? Is because the demon that you're led to believe is actually the main bad guy in the movie. His name is Enmu, the one that controls the dreams. He was just so terrible, man. Like I did not like him at all. I was like, oh my god, this guy's talking like Michael Jackson. Not only does Muzan look like Michael Jackson, now this guy's actually talking to Michael Jackson. So that has to be like something with the creator purposely doing that to us. But, thankfully, by the time you think the movie's about to end, you get a nice little surprise. And that, to me, like, that saved the movie.
Your favorite 100%. Demon.
I mean, he's only my favorite because, again, I know his backstory.
No, but I mean, yeah, I mean, that was great when I finally got to it. And again, also, I didn't get to watch it in movie theaters, but definitely watching, even on TV. Like, I was finally getting to those parts that you were talking about with the animation, because if the animation was good in the first season, where it was, it's obviously a very well drawn anime, and you could tell they spent a lot of time. That freaking intro, or the Mugen Train alone, with the demon once it consumes the train and is using the train, like, yeah, it was really trippy. It was really good. Like, when the fights were going on, like, it was just like a freaking dance of action and demon appendages and swords and stuff like that. And it was beautiful. But yeah, like, you get attached to the story just because, like I was saying, that Tanjiro gets like attached to Rengoku right off the back, and I think that attachment is what makes us attached, because he's like de-analyzing in him. You're seeing this guy who's like thinks everything's tasty.
I was waiting for that. I'm like, please give us that tasty.
Yeah. No, he was great, man. But I just, yeah, it's super super sad when it gets to the very end.
I mean, even his look is a little bit ridiculous, if I'm being honest.
On fire.
He kind of looks like that Flavor Town cook or chef from
Guy
Fieri or Guy Wilson.
Guy Fieri,
yeah, with his shirts and his little visors and glasses. Yeah,
but man, can Rengoku fight, man? And I think even as we get to like the next season and you meet Tengen, he makes it a point. He makes it a point to say like he's not even close to be as strong as Rengoku. And I think if I had to like rank Rengoku as far as like, I forget how many pillars there are, if it's like 10 of them, I think he's almost like the top 3. And that's how strong he was, man. And for him to get taken down, it was just kind of like crazy, because it's just like, damn, if this guy couldn't beat like an upper 3 demon, like who is?
Yeah.
And then kind of off of that, because I just rewatched the last episode too. And then they made such a big deal of the fact that like in the entertainment district arc that they defeated at number 6, and it was like such a big deal. It kind of made it seem that either way that the upper demons were that much stronger than the Hashira even.
Yeah, because I think one of the reasons why Tengen says that he's not as strong is because he technically didn't train like them. He trained more in the ninja ways. So that's why his weapon's not a sword, because he doesn't have any skills with a sword, and that's why he has those other cooler, which I think are a lot cooler, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But that's like his whole reason why it's like, I'll never be a great pillar, because like I just don't have that skill. Like my skills are more than being sneaky and fast.
Yeah, he was a shinobi with the shinobi wife. That were basically like, yeah, that was a great story too. But no, yeah, I mean, just for the end of the Mugen Train, I think the last thing that I wanted to touch on was just that scene where your boy Akaza kills him, like stabs him. And it's basically the end of that, but there you have Tanjiro, who's devastated by, there you go, who's that. If you guys can't, if you're not watching us while listening to us on Spotify, Carlos is showing off his little figure collection with you could tell who he's obsessed over.
Well, I just know that this guy will protect my wife and daughter if something ever happens to me, so that's why I keep him here.
There you go. And he's not talking about Rengoku. I'm not gonna run all the way downstairs. I have Rengoku. I'll fight you, even though I know who loses. Sadness, but yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, like Tanjiro throwing, like, what does he do at the end? As Akasa's like running away, he throws like the sword, right? And it's just, I mean, he doesn't get to kill him, but it's just like, whatever I forget right now, obviously, because I haven't seen this in a while, but he yells basically saying that I'm gonna get you for this, like, how could you do this, for the whole killing Rengoku? And then, man, I was crying from the moment that he dies all the way through that part.
Oh my god, when his mom showed up, I'm like,
man.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you guys doing this to me?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the district arc, because I mean that was only 12 episodes, but I think 12 episodes, but it was a really great,
super packed.
And again, Ramon kind of like talked about it, but if you are enjoying what we're saying, I just kind of want to keep saying, like, please follow us. If you are following us, please give us a review. That would help out a lot. You know, guys, I didn't know if I told you this, but my mom finally put her foot down, and she said that she would not longer create fake email accounts so she could give me fake reviews on Spotify. So we can no longer count on my mom to give us these 5 stars. So I really need our fans or the people listening to us give us those 5 stars. So again, if you're enjoying this, please give us a 5 stars rating, because that would mean a lot to us.
I didn't even know that she knew how to use an email.
Otherwise, she's gonna kick Carlos out of the house. JK.
Out of his own house.
Oh God, I hope she didn't hear that, but
Mom, the meatloaf.
No, but now that we're talking about the district arc, Raul, you're gonna give us the full background story on Tengen's mice and how they came about and how they became so buff, and talk about like their workout routine.
Well, first, it starts off with the band's breakfast. Not kidding.
A hearty breakfast.
Those mice totally caught me off surprise when they like showed up.
I know.
I'm like, does this even like? I'm not trying to even explain like the idea of like really strong mice that Tengen has, but it's just pretty funny. The show needs more of that.
Oh yeah, just some athletic type animals.
But what did you guys think about Tengen the first time you see him? I know in the first few episodes he's a little controversial because he's grabbing little girls and slapping them in the butts. But I overall thought he was just like the coolest, man. Like I was about to I don't know what I was about to do, but I fell in love with them.
I guess I didn't know what to expect from him because of all the bling that he has around his like headgear, his earrings, or I guess whatever dingles off his like headgear. And then
the face.
Yeah, the face. He was really,
face.
Yeah, he looked really cool. He looked a little, not eccentric, but maybe like he was just kind of like, he looked like he was like the artist type or musician type or like pretty boy / like rich. And, it's not that I didn't have a lot of hope, because obviously by this point we know that the Hashira are like elite demon slayers, but it's like, I just kind of was really interested in his story. And I think once you find out the thing about his wives and they're part of a shinobi clan and just that whole story in general, like puts him into another perspective. But then nothing beats when he's actually fighting, which, that's kind of later on. But I don't know. I really like following him around, like as Tanjiro and them. Because he was definitely a different type. He like Rengoku was very like, he wasn't like super serious, but he was definitely more of a
wholesome,
wholesome, composed. And then this guy, man, I don't know. Yeah, this guy was more like, let's party.
No, I mean, for anybody that doesn't I'm sure you guys all watched the show, but I mean, the reason why he was so out there was because he had siblings and they all had died. So he wanted to actually like live 3 times as hard because of all the siblings he had lost. So I really like that because they really did put him into perspective. But I could understand why the Upper Moon 6 hated him, because he was just such a beautiful man. And like, even when you get that introduction of, I think his name is Daki, he's just like right away like hates him. He's like, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome. And then when he tells him, oh, I have 3 wives, he just like gets completely pissed off at him. Like,
yeah, and I'll say with this whole arc, it was interesting, I guess, for lack of a better word, of how it kind of depicts like some of the more scandalous parts of like history, because it has like this whole like prostitution district, the red light district, and then kind of how the whole system worked of girls pretty much like, or if they were like in certain situations, or if they were born into it, they're gonna become prostitutes, and even it goes to the point where I think like at 13 they start working and stuff like that, and like so many like I guess fucked up things, but for their time that was the norm. That was what was expected, and it was perfectly normal for like a grown ass man to like ask for like a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just interesting and conflicting, but it's part of history, because it wasn't just in Japan. It was kind of all over the world. That was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to see like a good movie depicting that whole period, feel free to watch Memoirs of a Geisha, because that would definitely tell you what it felt like to live around that time period. But no, I agree with you, Ro. Like, the environment was different than what we gotten before. Even by the end of the end of the season, like that whole area ended up pretty much being destroyed. At least, a portion of it. So that was kind of crazy because, Daki just has some crazy abilities and,
oh God,
to me, even though he was only an upper 6 man, to me, he felt like he could have easily been upper 4 moon, especially because of the criteria that you needed to kill him. To me, it felt very complicated, but they were able to pull it off.
Yeah, because there was 4 of them. Like a Hashira and 3 pretty strong normal dudes.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of having to kill his sister and him decapitate them at the same time, I mean, what are the odds or the chances? I mean, they probably got too confident on that.
Yeah, and they were both like pretty strong because as it was super hard to cut off her head because they did it once, but it wasn't at the same time as the brother. And then the brother is just like super fucking lethal, and it was like almost impossible to even get to the point where you got through half of his head.
Yeah. The guy demon was how do you say his name? Gyutaro?
Becky?
No, Daki's the girl, apparently.
Oh, Daki's the girl? Oh my god. Yeah. No,
that's something I haven't seen it in so long that I'm like pulling it up just to make sure that. Because I was confused about I couldn't remember his name or her name, and then it just turned out to be the same. But like, man, that was even just in general. You know what we didn't even talk about real quick is how the freaking Tanjiro and Nasuke and Senito had to dress up his little game.
Oh yeah,
they had to drag. They had to drag.
I totally forgot about that. And that was a pretty funny kind of little scene too, because in order to infiltrate and try to find freaking the wives, that's how we get into that whole situation. But man, yeah, those demons were pretty cool. I definitely like when you saw the brother. I think that was something that I didn't expect. She was already doing an awesome job fighting, and I know with her with like her the demon part, the ribbon part that came out and stuff like that. But then once she couldn't win, and then she summons the brother because
Tengen comes out of nowhere and like decapitates her in an instant. And then her head falls off, and then Tengen's like, "You're not an upper 6. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't need to talk to you." And then that's when the brother comes up, and like, I think that's when I started reading the manga, man. Because I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, to me, that was like so unexpected. The idea of like somebody else living in her body.
And he was cool. Like, he had the sickles with blood and like carnage all over them.
Blood
and,
art,
And of course, he was like, wasn't his story too that he was like an ugly kid, and everybody hated him because he was ugly, and basically once his sister came into the picture, that's when he basically like everything started getting better for him, which ultimately when she dies, that's clearly what caused him to go on to like the rampage that ultimately got him to the situation. But I mean, his abilities and stuff, like both of them fighting together, and like you said, because they were taking them on in 2 different parts at 2 different times, but like I think both those scenes had like amazing parts.
No, and I don't know if I'm kind of taking the story a bit of it back, but I just want to make sure that I'm touching on characters that we haven't talked about before we're done with this review. But what do you guys think about the leader of the pillars, the Hashiras? Like, what do you think about
the blind guy?
The blind guy? Because right now, you guys, to my understanding, you guys don't really know anything about him. Other than he's the leader. Like, do you guys have any theories? I would love to like kind of hear them out.
Isn't he like a descendant of somebody, or doesn't he have like important ancestors or something of some kind? Which is why he's in the position that he's in.
I mean, Carlos, I know Carlos.
Don't ask me because I'll tell you 100% like what it is. But like, I'm asking both of you, like, if you guys know.
I think it would be a spoiler for everybody. But no, I'm kind of also guessing the same thing too, because he is such a mystery now. And I'm like, I don't know, just thinking of the different factions, right? You have like the demon slayers, and then you have your demons. Like, I feel like it's someone related to Mr. Elvis, not get to the head, Mr. Elvis. I mean, Michael Jackson. See, same inspiration. But no, how he's possibly related to him, how he is, I don't know. So I mean, Carlos, you can be like warmer, not kidding.
No, I mean, for me, when I first, because there's like a mystery to him, and you're kind of thinking like, why is this man sick, or why does everybody love him so much?
Because everyone respects him like so much.
A lot.
In a way that they kind of revere him too. It's not just like respect; it's like admiration.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, for somebody to have that much respect for him also makes me feel like he's somebody that you should fear. So that's one of the things that, like, to me, kind of still wondering, especially because to me, he brings like these creepy vibes. So I'm wondering, like, I'm just like you guys, like, I want to see how they develop him or what they show about him. But no, he's definitely like that mysterious figure right now. But I can't wait for you guys to like know more about his whole ordeal.
It's a Muzan's twin brother. No, I'm kidding. I always think everybody's a twin is someone because this just makes the story so much better. You're like, what? I didn't even know I had a twin brother. But
yeah,
no.
I could see it, and I wonder if it was him that like caused his illness or whatever, or like scarred him or whatever happened. They must have fought at some point, and which caused him to be in that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, in the first few episodes, they said the Demon Corps operates like outside the government, but I have to believe that the government knows that there's demons, right? Like, and they let them operate maybe because they're the best equipped to actually handle these demons, and they're like, well, you know, you guys have been doing a great job, so let's just keep you guys doing your own thing. But like, I mean, like the idea that the government doesn't know about demons, like, I don't believe that for a second. I think just the government lets them operate without any problems.
Yeah. Well, they have to know because the general population knows that there's demons. I mean, not like proven,
Not
but
like-
not like proven, but like they all believe, or some believe in demons because even that was like a part of it too. Where they're
Other
like,
people
oh,
do.
wait, demons really, yeah, exactly. There's the stories going around, and the people do believe in them. So not
legends.
counting the legends, not counting the Mugen Train. What's your favorite part of season 2?
Well, I mean, those last few episodes, man, to me, they're just incredible. And again, we're only talking like 12 episodes compared to the first season, which is like more 24 or 26 episodes. But I think the second season, I just love how Tengen and, you know, you kind of get the idea that one of them has been stabbed in the heart. You know, the other was Zenitsu's like, you know, clearly on fire. And then Tanjiro, like, he can't even move his hands, his fingers are broken, and you're like, dude, like, how are they gonna like get out of this? Like, I just couldn't, like, and then, you know, you're led to believe Tengen's dead, and then he's already lost an arm, and then somehow he comes back even more stronger than he was before. Freaking crazy, dude. And then he starts actually using his like sound abilities. So like, he's like, oh, I'm actually able to like replicate or have an understanding of your demon art. And so that was to me like really, really cool, and it's still amazing to see.
You guys reminded me indirectly about Inosuke decapitating her with his like sawing of the two swords. Like I forgot I was like standing up at that point, like cheering him on, because like it was one of those moments too, like, you know, you didn't think he was going to be capable of like decapitating her, and you know, she was already so tough to begin with, and her defenses were so great. And I do now that I forget what you were just talking about right now too, just I guess everybody fighting at that same time. But yeah, the moment where he like sits there and with his two blades puts them around her neck, and she's like, "Yup, you're not getting through," and then he's just like you know, sawing away until she freaking do it. That was awesome. Yeah, I forgot about that too.
So I'm not going to ask you guys to like rank every pillar, but in your opinion, from what you've seen, like, who do you think is the strongest one? Because for sure, for me, like the one that I know officially goes down as the strongest one, like, kind of surprised me. And if I'm being honest, even after I saw him actually in action, or, you know, I read the panels where he's fighting, like, I was not impressed by him, but maybe once they animate it, it'll make me believe more why he's the number one. But who do you guys think about it?
I've been told, so like I was already told by Jose, like who supposedly is the strongest in Hashira.
So don't spoil it for people listening. Ramon, who do you think's the number one strongest? If you had to like guess, I don't know if you've had any.
Tanjiro.
No. Okay. No, I mean, I don't. I guess from the people that we met, they haven't given you too much, and I don't want to guess, but
they're all powerful. They're all so strong.
Well, yeah, they're Hashira.
Who's the one? I think it's Sanemi, the one that like tries to beat up Tanjiro in the very beginning, or like not in the very beginning.
Oh God!
But,
I stabs the box.
Yeah. Like he was annoying where I would hope it's not him, but other than that, it's hard to guess, man. It's like just without really knowing anything.
The one that I kind of had high expectations for was the one that looks like he works at Foot Locker, the one with the snake.
The snake.
So I kind of had high expectations for him. That doesn't mean he's not the number one, because I just said that number one kind of surprised me, and I was not like immediately like, oh, okay, this is why you're number one. But I thought he was to me like somebody that I'm like, oh, maybe he has some kind of like ability, especially because he gives me those Orochimaru vibes. And you know me, like I love Orochimaru. And he even comes at the end of the season 2 to tell them like what a crappy job they did, even though they just killed an upper six moon. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He does the backhanded compliments.
Yeah.
And I remember Tengen like steps up and he says something about Tanjiro, how he has like all this potential and stuff like that. So I like that because that carries on the whole idea that Tanjiro can, he could take that word back and be like, hey, this kid's actually promising. Like,
yeah. No, yeah, and the thing that I really liked and kind of was interested in is his progression through that second season of kind of getting to getting from his like normal the water breathing stuff, and kind of starting to incorporate some of the fire and the sun breathing or whatever they call it. Like that part of it, and kind of combining it together and kind of balancing it out to make it work for him.
This is where I hate you, Carlos, because I'm like, you already know what's that all about. But yeah, that's probably one of the most intriguing parts for me. It's still seeing like the whole thing about like who does the sun dance, like where like the whole history behind the sun breathing and all that stuff. Like I just want to know.
Earrings.
Yeah,
I think this next season, man, they're actually those things are going to be revealed for you guys, so you guys aren't going to have to like wait till like the show's almost over to like find out.
Awesome.
So I'm very high. And then some of the one character that was introduced like early on in the first season is going to make a comeback, so you'll get to know a little bit more about him. How do you guys feel about the butterfly girl? Like, I don't normally like to ship characters.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't like to like normally say like, oh, those two make a great couple, but like I do think her and Tanjiro could be like great together. I know right now she's a little bit dead inside, or at least doesn't show any emotions. But he can fix her.
The coin one?
Yeah, it's talking about. Yeah, you're talking about the not the apprentice girl.
The
right?
apprentice one, yeah,
the one with the coin. Yeah, because remember at the end of Tanjiro leaving her, like he flips the coin for her, and he's like, "If it's heads, what did he say? If it's heads, I think you have free will, and you don't have to like keep flipping a coin." And basically, if it was tails, like he was gonna keep flipping the coin. I just remember something about that because he was basically got her into the mindset that you don't have to depend on the coin to make your decisions, and that was pretty cool.
I don't know how I'm not remembering this Two-Face characteristics of her.
At least she had heads and a tails. It wasn't, the two heads. Which
Before we leave on, like, would you guys like to take a stab at doing like a first form, blah, like fire something? Like, I don't know if any of you guys have that in you.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
Oh, just like saying if you guys could do like concentration, first form. It's like, the whole ordeal that they have to say when yeah.
No, I can't recite any of that stuff right now.
I know, Ramon, you were very disappointed when I told you that whenever Tanjiro, does his water moves, there's actually like no water actually being done. There's no fire actually done. Like it's all fake. It's only for us to like enjoy the imagination. No, in the show.
Wait, what?
In the show, so let me break it down in a way where like I hated it, right? So you know how we were spoiled by like Avatar, the Airbender, like the last Airbender, and how they all actually manipulate the freaking elements and everything like that. Well, Carlos broke it to me that with their sword moves and stuff, they're not doing anything with the elements. That all the water, all the fire is just there visually. It's visually for us.
For us, the studio's just making it for us so we can have like fun with it. But
there is no fire, no water.
No, they're not summoning water. They're not summoning fire.
No sound. No lightning.
Apparently not. Which
really
is
not.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's kind of.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
I don't like it.
And I want to believe it otherwise. Like, nuh-uh.
Like nobody's getting wet after Tanjiro like hits them with a moon.
You know what?
That you know of.
We can't see all the viewers at home while this is playing. So I guess you're right.
So if somebody wants to explain to me how Tanjiro actually summons water during his like second form, just tweet at me and, you can tell me the full details and I'll read all about it.
Yeah, but you know what? When you said that, it totally made sense. It was just so heartbreaking. Like, not Naruto, you have like chakra that manifests into like things, and then obviously Avatar: The Last Airbender was that was obviously all them elements and stuff. But yeah, you're right. Like thinking about it, there's nothing that says, hey, you have elemental powers in one way or another that you learn to how to wield the sword, and the next thing you know, you're like freaking flame slashing. Like
I think the only thing we can count on it's like the blood art, the demon blood art. I think that is happening. Like Nezuko putting things on fire, like that's actually real.
I mean,
they react to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but nobody's reacting to Tanjiro summoning a wave of water and a dragon, and nobody's
being blinded by all the light when freaking Rengoku slashing his sword. Yeah, you're right. Damn it, Carlos, ruined it for us.
Bro, I was thinking about that tiger. It's like, was that tiger really not there?
No,
it makes sense.
Yeah, stand is. What a bummer!
What a bummer. Well, guys, thank you for being up with me on this late night edition of Demon Slayer review that we just did. I'm after dark, Adult Swim. I'm very excited for the new season to start in April, and I hope when the new season does, come up, we can do an episode by episode review of it. Or if not, we can work it out. But I do think there's going to be a lot for us to say. So again, it's been great with you guys. Any final thoughts?
Nah, man.
Demon Slayer is awesome. I completely agree. That's one of the. I'm going to say something controversial. It's one of the new big three.
Okay,
I agree with you. It's it's hard to compete against Demon Slayer.
As much as like I'm loving My Hero Academia, it never brings me like as much excitement as like the idea of like Demon Slayer coming back. And then My Hero Academia has been doing amazing things like on every episode.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. Go watch it.
All right, guys. Well, this has been us. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.
Peace.